Hi, and welcome to Mrs. Pam Reads, where we are continuing in the Magic Circle by Katherine Neville. You'll notice I'm in a different location. We've changed our location. I'm not sure about the decor or the sound or whatever. It's got to be better than where we were. So we'll see how it goes. We are, let's see, last video. It's interesting because we found out that Mr. Ben didn't want Laugh to come back to Vienna at all. He basically wants his money. And because his mother's passing, there's also some money that's been secretly set aside for him to continue his violin lessons and become a maestro or a master of music. And it's not safe for him to be around his dad, I guess. I don't know. So we'll see. We also discover that his current violin teacher at his school is a friend of Pandora's, a cousin, I think. So, yeah. So he wanted to know, the last question Pandora asked was the plan of Hermione, Laugh's mom, okay with him? That, he secreted away with some money that she stashed and become a great violin player. So here we go. It seemed only moments, though it must have been an hour or more, that we whirled on the snowy carousel. Dacian played snatches on the violin with cold fingers. There was no steam, he explained, to run the calliope, and Pandora hummed the counterpoint through her muffler, from which steamy breath emerged. Remember, they're cold outside at an amusement park that doesn't run in the winter. Zoe danced and pranced about the circle as it whirled, and Ernest and I rode up and down proudly on our chosen steeds, a wolf for me and a soaring eagle for him. In between, my siblings spoke to me in whispers of what the future might be like without our mother, an interesting proposition from my viewpoint, since it described my entire past. As to what Pandora's role was in it all, or why she'd chosen our family on whom to bestow her fairy magic, this still remained a mystery. I felt so euphoric at thought of realizing my true dream that it never occurred to me that it might be years before I learned the answers to such critical questions. My first family outing was now disrupted by a new arrival who approached down the alley in the opposite direction to the one we'd come. Goodness, it's Lucky, Pandora said, pulling down her muffler and taking her cousin's arm. But how did he find us here? He didn't find this intrusion on my fantasies to be in any respect lucky. Perhaps he'd come to collect us and take us home. From my perch on my wolf, I studied him as he came. He was slender, with a long, pale, clean-shaven face, and older than Pandora, perhaps even 20 or more. He wore a threadbare but well-pressed suit with an artist's long-fringed scarf, yet he had no well-pressed suit, topcoat, in such weather. His mop of silky brown hair was cut in the popular romantic fashion, so he had to toss it back from time to time. He slapped his gloved hands against his chest for warmth, his breath streaming behind him. When he came close enough, I could see eyes of such startling blue intensity. It was hard to pull one's gaze away. He called to Pandora. I've been searching for you long enough to become a block of ice in this weather, Fraulein. Zoe piped up, please, please, Lucky, come up here on the carousel and dance with me. So I now understood that Lucky was the fellow's name. He regarded Zoe with mock derision. Real men don't dance, Liebchen, he told her. Besides, I've something of importance I must show you all. We have to see it today. Sorry. The Hofburg Museum will close up for cleaning and repairs next week. And these Viennese are so gemütlich, who knows when it will reopen. I'll be long gone by then, but I've got today's tickets for the Hofburg all ready for all of us. Yes? I'm sorry you've come out in the cold like this, Lucky, Pandora said, but I promised Frau Ben I'd show her son around Vienna today. He must be returning to school quite soon. So this lad is the other Ben's son, the English one, part Boer, said Lucky. Though I didn't correct him about my Boerness. I wondered how such a low-class person who didn't possess an overcoat or even a pea coat like Dacian's could possibly be acquainted with my family here in Vienna. Lucky was the roommate of Gustl Lafcadio, Pandora explained. Gustl is the musician I told you about, the one who introduced your mother and me. They've known each other from high school and have even written an opera together. But I haven't seen Gustl in ages, Lucky told her with a smile, swinging himself up onto the carousel as it whirled. He made his way around to my wolf and added almost privately, as if we two shared a secret. Our paths are so different. Gustl has diverged toward the mundane, I toward the divine. Now that Lucky was so close, I could see his eyes really were extraordinary. I found myself nearly hypnotized. He studied me as if his appraisal would decide my total life worth, nodding to himself as if well satisfied, which made me strangely happy for some reason. Then he turned to Pandora, taking her hands in his and raising her fingertips to his lips. But he kissed the backs of his own hands instead, an odd, uniquely Austrian custom I had sometimes seen in Salzburg. I don't write librettos anymore, he went on. I've been working on paintings again. My watercolors have achieved some success. While I was engaged last Michaelmas for a small job of touching up gold leaf in the Rubens Gallery at Kunsthistorisches Museum. One night, I went across to the street to the Hofburg just before closing. And that's when I found this thing of enormous interest. I've been studying it intensely each night at the library ever since. I've been up the river to Krems, also to the monastery of Melk, using their library too, one which with quite interesting manuscripts, even once to Salzburg for more research. Then he turned to me. I don't believe in coincidence, young man, Lucky told me. I believe only in destiny. For example, I find interesting the animals you boys have chosen from all this enormous menagerie. The name for eagle in Old High German is Ern, and Ernest sits astride an eagle, while the beast you've chosen is a wolf. Pandora's cousin Dacian here, his name comes from Daci, the wolfmen of ancient Thrace, one of the oldest hunting tribes in Europe. You see, study enhances not only the intellect, but the very way in which we perceive ourselves and our history. My nickname, Lucky, is something of a private joke among my friends. My Christian name in Old High German is Alpha Wolf, meaning high born or fortunate wolf, lucky wolf, Do you see? And my family name originally must have meant the same as Boer, Heidler, or heath man, like Bower, one who lives from the land. Okay, that's all interesting. Whoa, I cried, stopping Uncle Laugh's life story in midstream with a wave of my hand as we sat there in the Sun Valley Lodge dining room. Rein up there, partner. You mean to say this guy was Adolf Hitler? When Laugh merely smiled, I looked at Oliver and Bambi, who both had glazed expressions like a trout that's just realized it's no longer breathing water. Gavroche, the story was almost over, Laugh said. It's definitely over for me, I told him, pushing aside my half-eaten salmon fumé omelet and getting to my feet. Where are you going? Asked Laugh pleasantly. Oliver was wrestling with his napkin, trying to figure out whether he was my guest or Laugh's. I motioned him to stay seated. Outside for a walk, I told Laugh. I need to swallow some fresh air before you ask me to swallow anything else. I ask you to swallow nothing but a bit more champagne, he said, still smiling and patting me on my good arm. Then I shall go for the walk with you, or perhaps even a swim, while your friend here shows Bambi a bit of the mountain. That is, if you don't mind. Laugh raised his eyebrow in question to Oliver, who leapt to his feet. After a flurry of waiters and coats and thanks and hugs, Bambi and Oliver vanished to the slopes, and Laugh and I headed off to the glass-walled outdoor thermal pool. Surrounded by the mountains, its roof open to the sky. Vogel Dragunov met us there with bathing suits. Uncle Laugh, I said when we two were alone at last, ensconced in the steamy, relaxing mineral waters. How could you have told a ridiculous story like that one at breakfast? Oliver's a friend of mine, but he's also my colleague. After this morning, he's going to think my family's even crazier than you all actually are. Crazy? I see nothing crazy about my story, Laugh objected. Every single thing was completely true. He ducked his head under the water. When he came up, his silver mane was slicked back, accentuating the magnificent bone structure of his face and those sharp blue eyes. I thought how truly handsome he must have been when he was young. No wonder Pandora had fallen for him. But wasn't that part of the problem? Everything you said was a myth, I pointed out to Laugh, especially the part about our family. That's the first I've heard of your father being English, much less having a fortune of something like $100 million. And if Pandora really hated my grandfather, her Hieronymus, as much as you say, why did she wind up marrying him that same year when you were still only 12 and staying married long enough to have a child by him? I can imagine what Augustus's version must be of the story, Laugh said with the first note of cynicism I'd heard so far. But I'll be direct now that we're alone. Though I hate to be the one to tell you of your own grandfather, Gavroche, you asked the question, and a good one, why Pandora might marry so despicable a man. When we returned that afternoon to the house in Vienna, we learned my mother had died in our absence. The younger children were distraught, beside themselves, and we were all sent to bed early. Next morning, in the pre-dawn light, I was taken by several strong male servants to the train and forcibly escorted back to Salzburg. That day would be the last I would see of Pandora in nearly 5 years, for she was taken from Vienna, and then the First World War intervened. Only 5 years after I would learn how she had been violated by my stepfather that very night, more than once. How he forced her to marry him under the threat that he would reveal things about her that might bring great danger to her and to her family as well. He, what? I gaped at him. Are you mad? No, I thought I might go mad back then, Laugh told me with a bittersweet smile. I knew by the way he said it, he was telling the truth, and I wondered whether he'd ever told anybody of this before now. Why don't you finish your story, Uncle Laugh? I said, moving over through the water to put my hand on his shoulder. Sorry about what I said. I really do want to know everything. Let me begin anew, with Lucky going with us in our carriage to the Hofburg to see the weapons collection and his discovery there of a mysterious and fascinating ancient treasure. All very interesting. Sorry about the little violent mention there, but for the most part, interesting and intriguing. All right, you guys, I hope you have a wonderful day, and I will see you next time. Bye.